a few hundred real good ones, about 2,000. Cincinnati Comic-Con, which was run by Tony Moore, who does The Walking Dead, had about 2,000 people in their inaugural year this year, which was literally last month. So we figured we were going to be in that ballpark. We obviously did a heck of a lot more than 2,000 bodies. We did probably, to be honest, about 4,000 to 5,000 we actually got in. We haven't counted the money, so we don't know. And we turned 2,000 people away in the parking lot.
Wow.
I don't think any of us saw this coming. We feel bad about some of the things that happened, but then again, we feel great about some of it. Like, for instance, we had one young gentleman who actually got some heat exhaustion in the parking lot, and we feel bad for that person and all that, and we're hoping that he's okay. We actually had him taken to a hospital, and that's when we started looking at this and going, this has gone from just a big line to a safety issue. And then we were like, we have to draw a line. We have to figure out what we're going to do, because the truth of the matter is the safety of everybody here comes first. And it was, we knew we were going to take a lot of people off, and we told people we just can't accommodate them. We knew they were going to be mad. We knew people weren't going to be happy. And we decided that we are just going to have to take that risk. And instead of putting people at risk where people could get hurt or worse. Plus, we have a building we have to worry about too, because there are, issues with things like, issues with, people punching holes in walls and that kind of thing. Not that we had any of that, thank goodness. But we have to be careful of those kind of things too. When the building is actually starting to bow out because there's too many humans in it, it's time to say we've just got to cut the cord, so to speak. And that's what we did. We basically said at about 2 o'clock, we just looked at it and we were like, what are we going to do? And we just decided, we drew a line in the sand and we said, okay, that car right there, that's the end. And we basically drew a line at that car and said, this is it. If you're in front of that car, you're in. If you're behind it, you're not. And even after we did that, there were about 150, 200 people who said, can we sit in the parking lot? And if you decide to let in more people, we can get in really late. And there are still people paying full price to get into the building, which is amazing. The show's closed in 55 minutes. So we have found that, the funny thing about this show, and this you're going to get a laugh about, is we actually had 2 comic book stores in Grand Rapids that tried to discourage us from doing this event because they said nobody will attend. It's the honest truth. Not one store, but 2, who said this will not succeed. I think they were proven wrong. I would like to give you a statement about next year, because originally we were talking about going to the Deltaplex. We will definitely not be at the homeschool building next year. That's a given. The reason for that is very simple. This building can't accommodate it. And their staff, bless their hearts, they were here all day on their time, I think. I don't know if I'm going to get a bill or not. I'll find out. But they stayed here all day, because when they started looking at it, and they were just like, oh my gosh. And they got to the point where it was like, we got to stay marked just to protect the building. And they were right. But fortunately, we're not seeing any real issues or anything. This crowd is a very passionate crowd, and it's obviously a large crowd, but it's also a very polite crowd. Other than one toilet that overflowed in one of the bathrooms that someone stuffed toilet paper down. That's it. That was the only real issue that we saw in terms of damage. And of course, garbage here and there, but garbage here and there. But other than that, it went pretty smooth, pretty well. No real complaints. Although I got to admit, everybody in the staff is really, really, really tired. So that's pretty much what I've got. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Feel free to ask anything you wish.
One of the vendors.
Well, first of all, what press outlet are you from?
I'm with Seven Springs. Yeah.
Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too.
Cool. I remember you guys signed up literally at the last minute, so that's cool.
Thank you.
And I actually had a couple press outlets that came in and were like, well, we're from, and they insert some big magazine in the area, and they're like, we want to get in. And I'm like, did you reserve seats? No. Then you're not getting in. And so anyway, go ahead.
One of the vendors was asking, will vendors that participated this year be able to, are they guaranteed a spot in next year?
What we're going to do, because the vendors who came this year showed a tremendous amount of faith. Because first year shows, I'm a vendor myself. I'm the guy who owns the poster business against the wall. My wife is running it, but I just didn't have time to run it today. First year shows are risky. I don't know how many first year shows I've done where I've lost a lot of money. A couple $100, $300, $400, whatever. So what we're going to do with the vendors is once we figure out what we're doing next year, and it's going to take me a week, maybe even 2, to figure it out, because we're not 100% sure that Deltaplex can handle this next year. We're not 100% sure. So we're going to do some discussion and maybe just make the jump right to the DeVos place right out the gate. We're going to find out. I'm going to discuss it with people at the Convention Bureau and professionals, and we'll decide. But what we're going to do with vendors is the vendors that are here this year, we have all their applications, and what we're going to do is we're going to contact them all again. And basically what's going to happen is they're going to have a certain deadline where if they want to pick the best spots, they will have about 2 months to actually do it. And they'll actually be able to get their spots at a discount. They're even going to get a little of a discount. The reason that we're going to do that is because vendors are a lot more than just somebody who pays for space and comes to a show like this. If you look at surveys from Comic-Con International, which is the big one in San Diego, the number one reason people go to these things is to shop. And by far, number one reason. Number 2 reason they come is they're hanging out with their friends. That's basically what it boils down to. That's 51% of everybody who goes to comic conventions. So the vending room, we understand its importance, extreme importance. And thank goodness I haven't heard one complaint about the vending room at all. The only complaint I heard was it's crowded and it smells like a lot of stinky fanboys. I did hear that one. So yes, we will be allowing them to sign up first, but there's going to be a very strict deadline, probably December 31st, something like that. And they'll have to have their applications in and have the booths paid for. And to be honest, we may have to do that next year because obviously tickets aren't going to be an issue, but you can't cash tickets out for most shows until the Wednesday after an event. It's just sort of the way Ticketmaster and all those places work. Brown paper tickets, all these kind of companies. You get paid out the Wednesday after. Well, nobody's going to wait for their money. So you got all the vendors that, not necessarily the vendors, but things like the artists, the celebrities that, need to be paid. So we're going to have to figure it out. It's going to take me a week or 2 to figure it out. I'm going to tell everyone to be a little patient with us as we figure out what we're going to do. We'll announce dates on Facebook and the website as soon as humanly possible. All right. But it's probably going to be a week or 2.
Because you're planning to move to a bigger venue, would ticket prices be affected?
Ticket prices will go up. And the reason they're going to go up is very, very simple. The expenses go up. To give you an example, this show, of course, we blew the budget out of the water because we had to we brought in extra staff at the last minute, and we had to bring in some porta-johns, and I've agreed to, because the building got, not necessarily destroyed or anything like that, but because it got extreme heavy use, and there's a few of the carpets that are looking worse for wear. We've agreed that we're going to bring in a steam cleaning crew this week to basically steam clean the building, and we're going to pay for that. And the reason we're going to do this is we want to be good stewards of the property. It's my responsibility to make sure the property is taken care of, and we're going to take care of it. In terms of next year, one thing that bugs me about some shows is the ticket prices for some of them are ridiculous. And we can go public of that. Wizard World Chicago this year to go on Saturday was $60. UMACon in Detroit this year, their Saturday ticket is $40. In my opinion, that's ludicrous. And I've told the promoters of those shows that their ticket prices are insane. So they're not going to learn anything new from me bringing it up to the press. I'm hoping that we're going to keep the ticket prices never. We've got one corporate policy. We're never, ever, 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 ever going to allow the tickets to get any more than 20 a day in advance. Never. They're not going to be that high next year. They're going to probably be closer to somewhere between $10 and $15 is going to be my guess. And a weekend pass will probably be somewhere between $35 and $45 for a weekend. That'd be 3 days. We're definitely not doing a 1-day show next year. We're doing a 3-day show next year. The question is, and this is Will Burgess. Will is one of our coordinators. Did you need me for something?
I'm trying to find all the race boards.
They were in the family room. They were there when I looked in there this morning. sorry about that, guys. You know, as the promoter and the event coordinator, you always get these even last minute kind of stuff comes up. So yeah, basically my answer to that is tickets are going to be somewhere between $10 and $15 next year in advance. At the door, of course, they're going to be a little higher, just like any concert. You know, you buy tickets for a concert in advance. It's this at the door. It's usually a good $5 more. But we haven't figured it out yet. It's going to take a little time because it's a lot more than just saying the tickets are $5. You have to draw a budget, you have to price out stuff. And I've got the Deltaplex we pretty much figured out. But if we're going to be at the DeVos place next year, that's a completely different animal because for one, it's partially unionized, so that's something you have to seriously consider. The food service there is expensive, really, really expensive. Not anything like we did here. Here, the food service was for us was $500, $600, $700. That's it. There, our coffee budget will be bigger than that, and it's just the reality of that kind of facility. So I'm not going to be able to answer that honestly until we know. It'll be a week or two before we figure it out. But it will go up. I can say that very safely. It's not going to be $5 forever. This year, I'll tell you this though. The reason this year, my wife and I decided we wanted to do, basically, this whole show was basically a glorified template. Just basically, you have to have a starting point. We needed a starting point. You were at the starting point. And we had to make sure that this could be done in Grand Rapids because when we started discussing it with people, the feelings were mixed. They really were. They didn't think the fan base would come out. They really didn't believe it. I mean, a lot of people didn't. And the funny thing is, of those two people who were very, very critical, one of them has asked for an investor kit for 2014. So he has definitely changed his mind. So he's actually asked for a kit. So that's good.
Thank you.
Anything?
I had a question and I answered it though.
Okay. Well, I can give you a couple other statements too. Next year, the show's going to be a bit different. This is why the ticket prices will go up. Instead of 6 national comic guests, we'll have closer to 20. That's what we're budgeting. And in terms of Hollywood guests, we're going to have at least 6, probably more.
Yeah.
So we're going to be increasing the show massively. Obviously, there's a market here. And that's just, talking from a pure business perspective, there's a market here. But from a fan perspective, yeah, this is going to work, and it's going to work well. And we feel that we've struck something here. We feel like we've struck something special here. And, we just feel like we've struck something really special here. That's the big thing. So, and as a result, like all of us, we're going to try to get together as soon as we humanly can to try to figure out if we're going to just make the Deltaplex jump, which is the most logical jump, or get really bold. But we'll talk to the convention market. I will pretty much be on the phone with them Monday because they're going to know about this Monday. They're going to be like, oh my gosh. And I know some of them were actually here and saw it physically. And one thing the Convention Bureau does is, because like I said, this was run by a couple poor schmucks, and it's just the truth. I think the Convention Bureau, because I'm supposed to be, I know at least one of them was here, that they actually saw this monstrosity that we just went through. They saw it. And they're going to have a lot of interest in it now because they're going to see the pure mass of humanity that came through this place. And they have a general policy that they don't fundraise for anybody. I think in our case, though, I'm going to go in screaming, we deserve an exception because look at what we've got, and do you want this downtown making you millions of dollars a year or not? If you do, I need help, period. I've got to have the assistance. If we don't get it, we'll stick with lower budget shows and be at the Deltaplex doing what we can handle, and we'll go from there. And if we can get the resources, and that could happen lickety split, it could take years. It just depends on the investors who write the checks. So that's something that we want to be honest about, because a lot of people are saying we should be in the DeVos place and these kind of things, and we probably should be. We probably should have went to the Deltaplex year one. The problem is just being honest, we couldn't afford it. As simple as it gets, there just wasn't the money to. Because to put it in perspective, the 3 day this place cost a little under $3,000. for this whole building. Although that expense has gone through the water because we're going to have to rent a ton of stuff and all that. The Deltaplex for the building, not including staff, tables, chairs, or anything, and that's all extra, is $7,500 a day. So you're talking triple the money, and you have no supplies. You basically have an empty room. Then if you want chairs, they're a certain amount a day. If you want tables, they're a certain amount a day. You want pipe and drape, they're a certain amount a day. You want setup crew, you pay them. You want tear down crew, you pay them. Boy, I wish we were paying a tear down crew tonight. So there's a lot of other expenses. And then the Deltaplex, you got to remember, compared to the DeVos place, that's small potatoes. So the DeVos place is going to be significant money. I'm not sure how much because I've never quoted a smaller event of this scale smaller by their standards, event of this scale at that building, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot more than what the Deltaplex would be, which for a 3-day weekend, including all the staff and all the pipe and drape and all that's about 42. And this year we just couldn't do it, so we're here. And I do want to make a comment that the homeschool building, this facility, is easily the best small facility in West Michigan. And I've researched it extensively. This is the best place. And I know they're getting some hassles from the city of Wyoming and those kind of things for things. And I think it's a crying shame. I mean, I think it's a crying shame because I think this facility is wonderful. It's well run, it's professional, it's clean, it's state of the art, everything's coded, it's done right. And I really hope that the Convention Bureau is going to help develop this. Maybe not bring in something as big as us, but we also didn't see this coming. We really didn't. We saw maybe a third of this. What's that? You can talk to me.
The vendor's picking up.
Okay.
Are we supervising any of that?
Are we starting to...
We're starting to do fire doors.
Yeah, but we can't really open those doors till 6. But if they're starting to pack up little boxes, I don't care.
So as long as they're not like.
Yeah, but we can't open the doors. We can't open the doors till 6 because there's still people paying to get in.
Yeah. As long as they're not exiting en masse through the fire.
Oh my.
Should not be exiting until 6 o'clock. If you're carrying
Yes.
That's
small
insane.
items,
What's that?
we're gonna allow
Just
that.
the sheer amount of people are still paying to get in.
Goes naturally.
My God.
And there's a lot of people who are really mad. Apparently, our Facebook page has got a lot of people who are like, "What the heck was that? I couldn't get in the door." And it was just one of those things where the truth of the matter is that somebody had to step out and say this has got to happen. My wife and I decided we're going to do this, so we did it. Unfortunately, we didn't have the resources to do it in the Deltaplex or some kind of facility of that nature. It just wasn't there. So it was either do it here and see what happens, or not do it at all. And that was as simple as it gets. And so we decided, let's do it here. And I'm telling you, the staff here is fantastic. They came in today, virtually no notice. They did everything that we needed them to do. They helped us make some executive decisions because there was just the massive humanity was just we couldn't believe. I mean, if you saw at one point, the line for this show ended at Wendy's restaurant down by the hospital. Think about that, guys. The line was probably a quarter of a mile long. Quarter of a mile. How many people are in line a quarter of a mile long? I have no idea. But we're estimating that we probably had 7,000 people show up here. And the truth of the matter is we've been turning cars away for hours. God only knows how many people were in those cars that couldn't find a place to park because there was no place to park. So God only knows how many people were here. Well, we're guessing 7,000, but we could be off one way 1,000, or we could be off as much as 2,000. We just don't know. We know the low end would be 5, and that'd be really low, and I think that's really low estimate. I think it was closer to 7. But again, it's a wild guess. Go ahead.
John Campbell.
Hi, John.
Western Herald. Sorry.
Yes.
Just wondering, what would you say would be the highlights of the day?
For me, I don't know if I had a lot of highlights today because, to be honest with you, all I did was run around and, we expected to have some fun with it and all that. And we were very prepared, but the truth of the matter is I did not get to see anything. I didn't sit in a single seminar, not one. I didn't look in the vending room 10 minutes. I just didn't have time. I haven't met a single guest. I've only met one guest so far, Arvell Jones. I haven't seen anybody else. And I've got old friends in there. Chris Shambar is an old friend of mine, go back 30 years. I haven't even said hi to him yet. That's how busy I was. And then we had to just take care of the massive humanity, you know, that was the big thing, is that, you know, getting through this. So the highlight to me is the satisfaction that we proved today this can be done in the second most conservative market in the United States. This can be done. And that's the most exciting part of all to me, is that this is, you know, plus for my wife and I, this is also very important because oh, I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
I just need radios.
Oh, come on and get them. I got 2 of them in here.
I got a third one.
Sorry, guys. I just, you know, there's some details. We're starting to thin out, right?
Okay.
Good. Well, we need to thin out because we're all fried. So.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. Did you get them all? But you got them all back, right? Or are you still chasing one or two down?
I'm chasing a few down.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm going to check with
Rochelle?
Rochelle.
Yeah.
Or is that the door?
Yeah, that's the door.
See if
Rochelle
she
Titus.
gets a hold
But Jessica DeBridge may have that too.
Okay.
She's the one that's out by the street.
Okay.
They still had one there, I think. At the
Okay.
volunteer after this.
Okay. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Say the question again. Sorry.
It was just the highlights.
Highlights. One highlight for my wife and I is I think we've made a career change today. I think that's for sure, because obviously this has been proven to be tremendously successful, and and there is a bunch of people in the community. Actually, Lauren McNabb is one that's sitting in the back. Say hi.
Hi.
Lauren actually did a lot of coordination with the show and was a big help and did a lot of great things for the show and wrapped up some of the last minute details that came up later, and was a wonderful help. And I had about 8 or 9 people that were like that, and hopefully I'll be able to give them all jobs in a few years. My fingers crossed, because if we're going to run this right, see, a lot of people have given Jen and I credit for doing this, and that's just not true. Yeah, we spearheaded it. Yeah, we led it. Yeah, we were the ones that were the center of it. But the truth of the matter is there's these 9 other people who took various aspects of the show and ran with them. And we basically were, fortunately, smart enough to allow these people pretty much free rein to do what they wanted to do and let them do it. And pretty much everybody came through. Everybody came through. Had a couple people that don't understand that 7 a.m. means 7 a.m. But other than that, we were fine, and everything went fine, and it was just pretty crazy. And that's one of the neat things about this show. But now we know we have a hit on our hands. We'll probably handle it a lot different than we did this year. Not that we handled it bad, but we didn't expect that. We just didn't expect it. And I don't think anybody expected it. We expected maybe 2,000, maybe, and the building could handle 15, so we figured out we'll have a little of a line. We'll get everybody in. We'll probably have the line thin out by 2, and by 4 o'clock we're slowing down and all that, and boy, oh boy, that didn't happen. I mean, we all saw what happened. So yeah, pretty crazy. Definitely crazy. So, yeah.
Is this an open floor for questions?
Well, it's like a press conference, but you're welcome to join in, be my guest. Since we have a small contingency here, I mean, apparently the local news stations decided not to, or in one case, they brought like 8 people with them, and we just basically told them, no, you got 2, and Wood TV was not very happy. They've wanted 8 passes for a long time. Drone point blank, no, because our philosophy, and I'll get with you in just a second if you don't mind. One philosophy we have with this show is really simple. Press is press is press. I used to be an underground publisher in the 80s, in the early 90s. I actually published my own magazine called The Obligator, which was a Christian heavy metal hardcore punk rock publication. You've actually heard of that? Yeah, I published that 25 years ago. I remember a festival called the Cornerstone Music Festival, which is basically Lollapalooza meets the Milwaukee Metal Fest, but all Christian groups. So it was a real bizarre festival, and you know, guys with mohawks 2 feet high and all this kind of stuff. But that was back in the 80s and 90s when people actually walked around like that. You know, now everyone's trying to look like Justin Bieber. Anyway, and they treated me the same as they treated the magazines like CCM Magazine and Heaven's Metal and then the real big publications at the place. They treated me as an equal. And I remember that. And I thought, now that I have that opportunity, I'd like to share that opportunity for that the small press can sit in the same room with big press. Not that we have a lot of big press here this year, but we're guessing that's going to change, judging from what we saw. So, your question?
Is there a chance that you would come back to Wyoming or Grand Rapids to, like, on a grander scale, seeing how much success that you had with the...
This show's not going to leave Grand Rapids. There's a reason why it's called the Grand Rapids Comic-Con. This is Grand Rapids' Comic-Con, and it's not going to change.
Yeah, because this is the first time that I heard of a Comic-Con coming to Grand Rapids.
Right. Right. This is not going anywhere in terms of the community. Can I help you, Kat?
Yeah, we need to chat in just a minute.
Okay, let me finish this up.
Yeah.
This is not going to go anywhere, but it's also, we can't keep it here for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I meant like on a bigger scale, like to
City-wise?
Orbit Room or
Deltaplex, DeVos Place, that's what we're thinking.
Okay.
The question is, which one can we afford? The Deltaplex is the most logical because it's a little less expensive. But with the numbers we saw today, we have to start asking the question that if we start bringing in Hollywood celebs, especially if we score something that's big, is the Deltaplex going to handle this? And it may not. We're going to sit down and figure it out. But the first thing I got to do is go to the Convention Bureau, sit down with their staff, and sit down and crunch some hardcore numbers and figure out exactly what it's going to cost and can we even do it? Because we may not be able to. It might be just too much money. We might have to go to the Deltaplex for a couple of years just to raise the money to be able to make the move. It might take that because there's no DeVos's, there's no Van Andels, there's no Myers, there's no Pews, there's no Secchias, there's no Steel Cases, there's no Grand Rapids Foundation, there's none of that. It's not there. So, and we don't expect it to be there. But judging, I guess it depends on what the news broadcasts say tomorrow and what the Convention Bureau tells us, maybe we will hear that. But I got to cut it short, guys, because I actually have to write checks to guests. I've got to scoot out of here. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
It really just tasted like flavorless popcorn, but it was just gross knowing that you're eating.